Snow. Okay.
Yes, we are.
We're live. Perfect. Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. Luz Gonzalez here with Kameron Snow. And sorry about us being late. Just technology has been acting up. As you guys know, Zoom is kind of overloaded these days. But fear not, Cameron here. We prefer to go by Cam.
Cam works. Yeah, I've been leaning into that recently.
Great. So Cam here had this idea. So we are good to go, even though Zoom was having some less than ideal results there. Okay, so let me connect here, and I think we should be good on audio. Hey, Diego, how's it going? Andrew's here, Jennifer Mason. I can't see other people, but we have people in the house. Welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy April 10th. And welcome to the Sales Brand Show, where we do trainings and I bring on and do interviews with experts like Cameron. And we guide you, through the experts that I bring on, through the coaching that we do, guide you on taking your coaching, your consulting, and your service business to the next level. So specifically with Sales Brand and this show, what we do is we help coaches, consultants, and small business owners get online. And it has never been more important for you to be online. I help you become an online magnet for your dream clients, to use social media and digital content strategy to easefully, can we get an amen if you like easefully make more sales? Amen. And create a raving community of lifelong fans and lifelong customers, so we can all come together and create the change that we want to see in the world. So that, I think, is something that's super exciting. And today, the title of our show, of our interview, is Copywriting Secrets: How to Write Copy That Captivates Your Ideal Audience and Leads to Sales, Even in Times of Crisis. So this morning, I brought on Tiffany Toombs, and we were talking about NLP and how to think about your mindset in these times of COVID, right? And as we bring on experts, and as we have resources, teachings, trainings, I really want you guys to know that we're supporting you through these uncertain times. And so today we're going to be talking about copywriting. And copywriting is so critical. Just like getting your business presence online is really important these days. One of the main ways that we do that is through how you represent your work, through the written, the written craft, through the words that you put not on paper per se, but on these screens where people are interfacing and interacting with your business. And so copy, what do we mean by copy? Copy are the literal words that you put on I keep wanting to say paper, the words that you put on a screen, that you put, on your Facebook post, your Instagram post, your description for your YouTube, for your podcast, your email. All of this is really critical. It is so important. And today we're going to be learning some of those best practices. There are things that we can do to hurt our results as business owners. And then there are things that we're going to learn from Cam that are going to help us make each word that goes down, on paper, that everything that we share with our audience be more powerful. So I'm really excited to have Cam here. And let's go ahead, and I'm gonna read this little quick blurb here so we can learn who Kameron Snow is. And again, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here. So Kameron Snow is a master copywriter who has generated nearly $10 million. That's crazy. In revenue just from his writing. So you guys are going to be learning from a true expert. He has co-created a marketing methodology that generated 8 figures, has had multiple 6-figure launches, wrote the funnel that handed one entrepreneur a 7-figure business from month 1. If that sounds interesting to you, let us know. Also, if you are here live, #live, if you're catching this on the replay, #replay. And he has worked, he has worked for some of the top digital marketing influencers in the industry, like Scott Oldford, Sunny, Lenarduzzi, BossBabe, and ClickFunnels. And he now helps online coaches, consultants, and service providers put connection back into their content So they only ever work with their favorite clients. And if you are here for that, let us know. Okay. So I start every interview with a little bit of like lightness, because I think sometimes interviews can be so like heavy and so like, yeah, we're going to dive into the meat of the interview, but I like to start with something light. So what is your spirit animal and why?
Oh, okay. So we're doing this at the beginning. Okay, so
at the beginning,
there was a little debate about this before we got on live on like what my spirit animal is. And so there's two possible options. It's either a velociraptor, because well, there's the whole story there actually, or a crocodile, which has a somewhat less interesting story. But
they're both like reptilian.
Yeah, weird. I don't know. I don't actually really picture myself as a reptile. Maybe more like a snuggly bear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with raptor. That sounds good. Sounds cool.
And so raptor because.
Oh yeah, so like I do this thing that I do a raptor imperssion.
Right, let's see
impression. Okay, well, let's see. We gotta make sure. We gotta. I've never done this on an interview, but.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I just scared my wife. She was like, "What is going on?"
That's really good. Bravo, my friend.
I don't really know where that came from, to be honest. I was 21, you know.
Yeah, and it just worked.
Yeah, maybe drinking involved. I'm not really sure.
Not. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah.
Making raptor noises. All right. So now that we know what your spirit animal is, let's jump in and let's learn a little bit more about you. So how did you end up doing copywriting work? What was your journey that led you to the work that you're doing now?
Somewhat accidental, I think.
Oh, yeah?
So I actually started in politics. I spent 6 years in Republican politics in California, which if you know anything about California and politics, it's a very small group of people that is shrinking by the day. And so at some point, I kind of saw the writing on the wall that, like, if I wanted to build a career, this is the wrong place to do it.
Okay.
Not to mention the ideological divide that was growing within me. And so, like, I'd always been a writer, just I've always loved it.
Yeah.
And I did a ton of writing in politics, lots of ghostwriting. And I didn't even know copywriting was a term back in politics. Yeah. I just like wrote articles and stuff for newspapers and our clients and whatever. So in 2016, not at all related to the election in 2016, I kind of just fell out of politics and into internet marketing when Scott Oldford put up a job posting for a marketing assistant. And I was like, hey, I should apply for that. Yeah. I'll just do that. And I got out of politics, and thank God. So I got into that, and I had been dabbling with internet marketing and like copywriting, and I kind of knew what it was. And I'd started freelancing on Upwork. Yeah. And then Scott kind of figured out that I could write. So I just started writing more and more of his stuff, and eventually just took over the email list, took over all the funnel copy, and just took off to the races and started writing all the things. So over the next 3 years, like I just became the copywriter guy. And that's kind of how I end up here. That's where the 10 million came from, is like the business grew really, really fast. Yeah. The 8-figure methodology that was referenced was the ROI method. That was kind of the tipping point that like sent us off the edge, or sent us up, a hockey stick. Yeah, the hockey stick, all of that. Yeah, it was kind of accidental, just a combination of being in the right place at the right time and natural talent. And of course, like learning the craft. Yeah.
So the thing is, like, it is the craft, and it's so important. And I didn't even know it was the craft. And I think so many business owners, I mean, especially in COVID times, again, your business presence on the internet has never been more important. And therefore, your words on the internet, wherever your people are finding you, has never been more important. And so I remember, hey, Christina, Louise, Jen, Mark, Diego, Andrew, Jennifer. I understood how important it was, and I just started buying all the books, because you guys know I'm a nerd. So, like I got the copywriting secrets and like the ultimate sales letter, and I have more books over there. And I was just like, if there is a skill that is super, really, really important. That can like make it or break it for you, especially if you're representing your business online. That is copywriting. That is writing words in the right order, the right words, the right emotions. You were talking about emotions, and we're going to be talking more about this. Like, how do we think about the words that we use? Is it just like the thoughts that our people are having, being like, well, that's kind of half the story, right? So like, how do we wrap our mind around the words that we should share and how to share them with our potential customers and with our current customers so they can keep becoming, repeat customers. So it is really critical, and really excited to have you here. So let's go ahead and dive in. And as we go through this content, guys, let us know if you're catching this on, if you're catching this live, #live. And as we go through, if you're like, oh my God, that was really powerful, write it down in the comments. If you're like, remember, this is like a high energy, high engagement. So if you're like, amen, yes, let's go, right, put that into the comments for you to retain the information better. And remember to invite all of your coach, consultant, and small entrepreneur friends so they can have access to all of this goodness. Okay, so let's begin with, copywriting. If you were to say, these are like five things that every single business owner, so here we specifically have a lot of coaches, consultants, just basically similar to your space, like service providers, small business owners, solopreneurs. So as they're thinking of sharing their, one, what should they be sharing? And then two, how should they be sharing it? So as they're sharing their offers with the world, but not just their offers, it's also just their general content. What would those like top 5 things that you think all coaches, consultants, small business owners should be doing?
Ooh, great question. So let's like back it up and take it from like the top level perspective first, because I can give you all the tactics. Yeah. And the tactics are only relevant within the context. So like, let's talk about the method.
Great.
Let's talk about the overall messaging.
Perfect.
So I developed a methodology called the PAYS method. PAYS.
PAYS.
PAYS. PAYS. Right. Because we want to write copy that pays us.
I love it.
And the PAYS method is the 4-part methodology for writing all the copy that you want to convert. Right. And so where do we start? We start with the problem. Okay, so what is the problem that I as a business owner am solving with my offer? This all supposes that you have an offer, that you already have something you're selling. And if you're selling something, that something solves a problem. No matter what it is, that something solves a problem, right? Yeah. So we want to get our minds around, first of all, okay, what's the problem that we're solving? And the next piece immediately, because you can't have the conversation apart, is, well, who's the avatar? Avatar is your ideal client. Who is the person that you're talking to, the person you're writing to? Yeah. So it's like, okay, what's the problem and how is it showing up in their life? And so in the copywriting world, we call that pain points. What are their pain points? Yeah. The secret and the key to like getting under the skin of your target audience to get them to understand they have a problem and it's bad and they got to fix it is these pain points. Pain points are also situations where actually we only ever live in moments. And this is where a lot of marketing misses the boat. And if you've like written copy and it hasn't worked, this could be why. Okay. Anytime we're talking about a problem that someone has in their life. So if you're in the coaching consulting space, maybe you're a sales coach. Okay. So you're helping people specifically get better at the sales script and about closing on the phone. Yeah. So the pain point that someone who's getting onto a sales call may have is the situation that's really reminding them of like, oh, I've got a problem. For example, it may be, okay, you check your calendar the night before, you've got a sales call tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and you feel your gut just clench together as you're like, okay, I know I need a sales call, but all of that doubt about your ability to close the sales call and all of those emotions just come up and you kind of think to yourself, I hope they don't show up. And it's just like, that's the situation and the emotion that's going on where they're just like, oh man, like, okay, I don't actually want to do this. That's a pain point. Because that's getting in the way of them getting what they actually want, which is to make sales, right? So when we
rather than telling, so I've seen this a lot, and I'm sure I've done it. So rather than saying like, you have this problem, right? Like, you are not getting enough sales calls. Rather than making it super like, this is a problem, you sort of take it a step back and you say, what does that problem actually look like in a situation for that person? And you describe that.
Yeah, like what is actually going on.
Yeah. Okay.
In their life on a tangible, like real level.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of that tone shift that you're kind of like alluding to is instead of like being in their face and being like, you've got this problem and you suck. It's kind of like standing alongside of them, putting your arm around them, being like, is this what's going on? Is this what's coming up for you? And it's like, and that's really a difference in perspective and tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how you talk about them and having like compassion and empathy instead of being like, I need to sell something to you.
Yeah.
Because that comes through your copy.
Yes.
People may not realize it, but if you are, now we're getting super ninja already, but if you're coming to your copy or your sales calls and you're in that state of like, okay, I need leads, so I need to write something. So pain points, and solution, outcome, offer, book a call with me. Okay, let's see what happens. Like, people can feel it. They just can't.
Yeah.
It comes across in your micro communication that you don't even notice. And it comes across in the rhythm of your language. So super ninja, not relevant, but for these purposes. So that's like problem and avatar. That's like where you start. Now, where most people screw up, myself included, you got to like catch this, is we want to talk about the problem that we know all about, the expert's curse. It's like, oh, I got you. Your problem is that you just need to like get rock solid in your mindset and your confidence that you can close the sale. But they don't know that. They have no idea. They think the problem with like not closing sales calls is that they're not using the right script. They think that they're not talking to the right leads. They think that they just don't have control of their time. Whatever. There could be a number of different things. Yeah. I'm not a sales coach, but it could, like, all those things are like, okay, well, I missed another call. It must be my sales script. I need another sales script. They go searching for another sales script. They go grab one out of a free Facebook group. They try it. It still doesn't work because the reality is that no script is going to work. Yeah. Because it's probably their offer. It's probably the way that they're like exuding, like, you know, used salesman, used car salesman, a used salesman, the used car salesman, like something else is going on. And the sales coach is like, if you as a sales coach are only ever talking about like what you know is going on, well, you might as well be talking about like nuclear physics because you're completely irrelevant to their experience because you're in a different world. And you have to go into their world. Okay. And then bring them back to yours. And say like, hey, no, this is not the right way. Come here. All right. This is what's going on. That's how you solve it. All right, let's go. Totally different. Okay. So that's why the Y and the S are you and the solution. So it's kind of like at the top, I've got like a graph, like a matrix. It's at the top is the avatar and their problem, what they think is the problem, what they think are some solutions that they've tried. And that's their world. That's all they know. And none of it is work.
What they think is the problem.
What they think is the problem.
Okay.
And the solutions that they've tried. Like sometimes like in a high awareness market, like they may actually have the problem right, but they just don't have in terms of like conceptually what the solution is. Oh, my business doesn't have enough cash flow. Yeah. I don't have enough leads. Okay. Fair enough. You're probably not wrong. Yeah. You're going and implementing solutions, but it's not working. So why isn't it working? There's something else going on. Yeah. And so that's when you have to, as the expert, still have to enter the reality and be like, boom, that's what you think is going on. Here's what's actually going on. Yeah. And here's how to actually solve it. Okay. And that is actually how you can write any piece of copy to get someone to take action. Here's the problem that you think you have. Well, did you know that that's actually not your problem? Well,
Mm.
this, and here's how to fix it. And when you do fix it, this is what your life looks like. Sipping Mai Tais on the beach.
Yeah.
Buy the course, book the call, change your life. That's what we're after.
Okay, so just so I can bring this together, so we have pay. So P is the problem, A is the avatar, Y is you, and S is the solution. All right.
And this is also how your client customer is thinking about the world. They're in problem mode. It's probably part of why they don't have a solution is because they are stuck on problem. They're just thinking about things and problems, and never really solutions. And so part of your job is to show them solution. Well, at first, we're talking about like, this is what they think is going on. So you have to educate them. And then they're like, oh, okay. So this is kind of a similar, like another way of thinking about this is the sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. Yeah. Someone in the sidewalk doesn't know they have a problem or they don't know what's really going on.
Yeah.
Someone on the slow lane is like, okay, I understand now. I've got a problem. How do I fix it?
Yeah.
What that means for you, entrepreneur, coach, consultant, is that some of your content needs to be just talking about the problem, not talking about you at all. Because at that phase, they don't care about you. They only care about their problem.
Okay.
So like, for example, if you're using Facebook and you're doing Facebook organic marketing.
Yeah. Which is what we focus on here. So great example. Perfect.
Okay, so let's say you've like some of your content, like a couple posts a week or more, depending on how often you're posting and stuff, should be like literally just about the problem.
Okay, so a couple of posts a week should be just about the problem. So what's an example of what that would look like?
So like I posted one like today, actually, about hate scrolling the newsfeed. It's one of my favorite terms right now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, are you like avoiding what's going on? What you need to be doing right now? Yeah. Because like writing content is hard. I think I posted one yesterday. So it's like it's just about the problem of what's going on and giving some insight into what's going on. As opposed to always talking about your story. There's a time and a place for your story. It's very powerful. But when they're in problem mode, you might as well not exist. Right? Like think about when you've got a big problem. Right? Like before in the classic marketing like doctor analogy, like the sales analogy of like going to the doctor and they're diagnosing you. Well, like before you ever go to the doctor, something has gone wrong. And you're not really thinking about so much as like where the doctor went to school and like who his kids are and like how long he's been married, right? Like you're first looking at your life, like you break your arm and you're like, well, my arm hurts. I really need a solution. And I need to find out what's really going on with this as fast as I can. And so maybe you do some internet research. You're like, okay, how do I set it? Okay, I can't set my arm by myself. I should probably go to the doctor. And like when you get to the doctor, what you are concerned about is like, doc, how to like fix my arm? Yeah. Like what's wrong with it? It's like, well, actually, it's a compound fracture. It's very bad. Whatever. You're looking for information about the problem.
So in these posts that we're saying a couple of times a week, you're just writing about the problem. So you're like building empathy. You're letting them know that you're standing beside them. You know, you're having your arm around them, saying like, I understand what it's like. I understand what you're feeling. I understand the situations that you're in. In those posts, do you provide a solution? Is there a CTA? Is there a CTA being a call to action? Like what?
Yeah, you can do both. So you can have, and like I never like to leave a post like down, like in the wound. Yeah, that's a good phrase. I never like to leave a post like sitting in the wound. Yeah, I at least like to be like, here's the problem. It's bad. It's terrible. Like it's the end of the world. But there is a solution. We're getting there, kind of thing. And sometimes it's like you just start with the pain and then you use that to talk about the solution. So there's multiple ways to do it. But the overall strategy is to make sure in your content, you are talking about, here's the problem, here's what hurts. So that they get an awareness of what the problem is. because pain is context.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is the context for the problem that they have that you can help them solve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also inversely, why would you talk about things that they want, like the outcome of like, hey, make $25,000 in a week, a month. That's also signaling a problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that they're not there.
Yeah.
And so like, there's always like that balance between like the problem and the outcome. And you're kind of always touching both no matter what angle you take, but it's often, you can attack it from different ways depending on how your audience responds.
Got it. So what I'm really hearing from that is these are almost like empathy posts. These are like, I get you. I understand you. I know exactly what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're going through. And so it's like sitting in empathy with them. And the how we end these posts could differ. But the point of it is building empathy with your avatar, with your ideal audience.
Yes. And here's like fun little mindset obstacle that you're going to face when you do this. It's like when you start talking about the pain points and like what's going on, and you paint a picture of like, here's how much it hurts. And if you don't solve this problem, it could get worse. A lot of empaths like me have a lot of resistance to writing about pain.
Yeah, I do. Because I know that's like something that I'm like, let's keep it light and good and all the solutions.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because you feel like it feels like you're doing something wrong.
Correct. Yes.
And it feels like and you feel it. That's the other thing. Like you feel it.
Yeah.
You're like, I know how it felt when I was in this situation. I don't want to put that on them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, imagine that you go to the doctor and you've got something going on and you have no idea. You're like, doc, like, my heart feels weird. Like my stomach hurts. Like something is going on and it's not right. And he's just like, okay, well, it's, we could give you some pills for it, and he doesn't want to say like, okay, so is there pain in your lower right side? And is it like a stabbing pain or is it like and he just starts describing what you're going through.
Yeah.
If he never does that, he could misdiagnose you.
Absolutely.
And you could like misdiagnose yourself. So it's actually really, really important to like take the pain points and reflect them back to your audience and like describe these situations. Right. So like, again, at the doctor's office, is the doctor like, okay, so did this start happening after you ate bananas? Right? Like, doc, my throat's all messed up. Did this start happening after you ate bananas? Like, yes, it did. Oh, okay. You have
killer bananas.
Right? Killer bananas is the problem. Bananas. They tried to kill you. Point being that when you are honest with your audience about the reality of their situation, because humans run away from pain. We don't want to face this stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're honest, like, hey, this is actually what's going on. And by the way, it's a big problem. And if you don't fix the big problem, it could get a lot worse. And here's what could happen. So it's like,
which is true.
It is. It's totally true. Like one thing for me that I have the unique experience of, I was a part of a company that had the opposite problem of a lot of businesses. We grew way too fast. Yeah. We grew way too fast and the business exploded. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I could like sugarcoat it and be like, yeah, that never happened. Or if I see a company that's like, I've got a couple friends who I'm like, you are on the cusp of like exponential growth and you've got to be really careful. Because businesses die from indigestion, not starvation.
It's really good. And Marilyn, hi. Hey, Tony, Melissa, Alicia, Paymon, Neil, Jacqueline, Christina. Good to see you guys here. If you guys have questions, if you have ahas, thoughts, anything, if you're like, wow, that was really powerful, let us know in the comments. Add your emojis. We love emojis. Okay, so PACE method, it's a 4-part writing copy that converts. And so part 1 is the problem and really empathizing. Really, Alicia says, yes, in the house. Alicia's freaking amazing. Love her. And so it is the problem, really sitting with them, not And it's almost like doing them a disservice if you don't take that expert hat and put it on and be the doctor and say, look, this is what the pain looks like, right? Like, this is what it's going to get worse if you don't do something about it. So problem, avatar, you. Tell us a little bit more. Remind me the you.
Yes. Okay. We didn't really go there. So it's like after when someone has like realized their problem.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, cool. I know my problem. Do I trust you with it?
Okay.
Who are you? Okay. So like in the internet marketing, online coaching, consulting space, like there's 1,000,001 voices around like the pain points of marketing and the pain points of lead generation. And so people are kind of like, okay, cool. Now I've got it. I figured it out. Like everything sucks. So which of you like is for me? Right. And so that's where your story, your results, your credibility comes in. And so like, I kind of like to think about it as you kind of have your credibility story and you kind of have your connection story. Okay. And like, there can be multiple versions of both of these. Yeah. But like your credibility story is like mine, like you read it at the beginning, like, okay, $10 million in copy generated, like 7-figure business from month one, like, and like my results, right? That I can throw out there and be like, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then the connection story is like, it could be like 1,000 different things. But one that I'll tell people is that like up until 2018, I was emotionally numbed out because of a traumatic car accident that my wife and I were in. In 2018, it all came to a head. She found me at 3 a.m., drunk off my butt alone, like on the phone with the suicide hotline. Like it was a disaster. And it was at that point that I realized that I needed to like get some help and go to therapy. Yeah. And it's like, that's like a story that I'll tell. You'd be like, yeah, this is me. Yeah. Like
real human being.
This is me, human. Right. Yeah. And like, that's important for creating the connection, and connection in your copy is like the most important thing, but they go together. Like it's like this dance, because the deepest connections that you have with other people are when you get real about pain, when you get real about problems, when you get real about like dreams and desires, and you cut through like the small talk. Yeah. There's no room for small talk in like good marketing. Not really.
I love that. There is no room for small talk and good marketing. Jacqueline says, so helpful with my pain point. I'm glad that this is helpful for you. And so anything else that we should know about the solution and how we share the solution?
Good point. So with the you, like you're sharing your credibility, you're sharing your results. And oftentimes, especially for coaches and consultants, like you're sharing a version of your story when you were in the same situation that you now help people through. Yeah. So that's like a whole thing there. The solution is like, this is your signature process, your signature methodology, your system for how you get results, and like an easy way to communicate it. So like my system is the PACE method, right? Yeah. And like you might have your own like named methodology where it's like, okay, cool, this is the first thing we need to address, and then the second thing, and then the third thing, fourth thing, fifth thing, and then boom, here's the result. The pillars. Yeah.
And here we talk about the 3 pillars: pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3. Where are you? Pillar, like a lot of you we're having to relook at pillar number 2. But yes, frameworks are super important.
Frameworks are super important, and they're critical for frameworks. Fun fact. Are in like visual methodologies of being able to like look at something is very important for working with and attracting the higher level clients. Because high level people want to be communicated with in simple ways, where it's just like, just show me the thing so I can get it. I just want to get like the methodology that Scott used and that I like co-created with him, that I wrote. Yeah. That the ROI method. Yeah. I still love it. It's still brilliant. R is relevancy, O is omnipresence, and I is intimacy. Relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy. And it's basically like the right message with enough frequency and like the human connection. That's like the secret sauce for marketing. And it's like everything you need to know about marketing in like a Venn diagram. Yeah. And it's brilliant. And that was the thing that really helped us get to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's where your solution comes in, is having something easy that you can communicate in your marketing.
Yeah.
And you can do a quick audit. And like, I'm thinking of my audit, right? Like of my content, like, I probably don't talk about solution enough. So you could do an audit of like your content and how you're talking about it. And if you have a funnel of like, okay, am I talking about problem? Am I like talking to the right person about problem? Am I sharing my story in a way that is relatable and helpful for them? And am I talking about the solution? And then at the very end of it all, we started with pain points. At the end of it all, what do they want? What is the outcome? And like, it's not attached to the acronym because then it'd be pays O, and that doesn't make sense. But it's like outcome at the end of it. It's like, what do they actually want? What does life look like on the other side? So at the beginning, it's like, hey, you sit down to write a post and it takes you 2 hours because you have no idea how to talk about yourself and no idea what to say to get people to understand how brilliant your offer is. And the other side is, imagine instead that you sit down with confidence and you're able to crank out high converting, money making emails in 20 minutes or less. Totally different realities. And what they want is over here.
So question. So I think that's interesting. And for a long time, you know, so I went to, and this was good. I went to all the trainings last year, which not knowing that Corona was going to happen. So go me.
Good job.
So one of the trainings that I went to was Brendon Burchard's, you know, like marketing, like for like experts. And he taught like a 14-step. Simplicity is good, guys. You get like simplicity, like we all love simplicity. Like for me, it's the 3 pillars. But so he taught this like 14-step, like these 14 things that you have to include in, you know, your copy or when you're sharing your story and your, you know, your sales videos. And so what I'm seeing from this is this is almost like the breakdown of anytime you do want to talk about your business, anytime you do want to share something that's going to sell, it's breaking it down into this. And so my question is, because I've heard different things, like, so you start with the outcome, right? And then you go into the pain. So like, where would you put outcome in this formula? Would it be like the very last thing? Do you start them with the aspiration? Do you start them with the pain point? Like, why?
So the pays method is laid out in terms of how the customer journey works.
Yeah.
So it's like, we always start with a pain point of like, man, I don't have enough leads. Yeah. And like, even that statement is a void negative statement based on something that we want. More leads. We want a certain number of leads. We don't have it. So it's like the customer journey starts with the pain, and then they realize there's a problem, and then they look for a solution so that they can get their outcome. So technically in that sequence, outcome is at the end.
Okay.
In terms of how you can write copy to like get attention.
Yes.
Yeah. Like using outcome at the beginning is highly effective. And it's like, it's one of the best ways to come up with hooks and angles. So I ran like a training this week. Holy cow. Was it this week? Feels like a year ago.
Everything is moving so quickly.
Yeah. I ran a training on Monday, actually. And like the title of it and the hook that I used to get like people signed up was, want to know how we generated or how we collected $37,000 in cash with a market that can't go to work right now. Right. And so it's like, ooh, that's interesting. That's new. That's weird. Yeah. How does that happen? And we got some science for it. Right. Yeah. So like, that's outcome. Right. It's like kind of a case study of proof, like the evidence behind it. And like, there's that subtle kind of, there's that implicit claim in there of like, maybe you can learn something where you can have a similar result. Yeah. No guarantees or actual claims there, but that's the psychology of it, of like, oh, well, I want to know what they did so I can apply it to me and hit my goals. Yeah.
As we're going through this, if you guys are here live, let us know if you guys have any questions you want me to ask Kameron here. So fantastic. So one thing that I definitely wanted to ask you more about is hooks and titles. So what are some best practices around just velociraptor noise around hooks and titles? How should coaches, consultants, small business owners, how should they be thinking about their what we've heard is your first 2 lines in say like Facebook, your first, in your news, in your newsletter, it's like the title for your newsletter. It's on Instagram. It's going to be like the first thing that they read. If it's going to be your YouTube, it's going to be the title of your YouTube, right? Or like what you include, the copy that you include on your thumbnail. If it's a podcast, it's the title of your podcast. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be, those first few lines before they have to press see more. So how you begin a post is so important. So can you share best practices to hook people in, to grab their attention? Like, what are some of the ways that these coaches, entrepreneurs should be thinking about getting attention so they can bring people into their world?
Yes. So first of all, the hooks and angles and the titles, understand that all of that is going to be based on everything we've already talked about, exactly who you're writing to and the pains, problems, outcomes, and everything.
Yeah.
One super boring and super helpful tip.
Great.
Is yay, boring, helpful, is to literally just Google headline formulas, and you will find literally hundreds of just different styles. Because an angle, when we talk about a hook or an angle, what that means is we have an idea of generate money with a webinar, collect $37,000 cash with a webinar. We have this idea, and the point of a hook or an angle, which are basically the same thing, is how can we take this idea and say it differently? How do we say it in as many ways as possible? And just mix around the words and the concepts to try and get the most attention that this concept has.
Yeah.
So notice that if the underlying idea isn't good, then the headline formulas aren't going to do you any good, because it's just going to magnify something that's not going to work. So let's take that one for example. So that's the most practical advice, is Googling headline formulas and just trying a bunch.
Okay.
On a tactical level, when I'm writing headlines and those that intro copy, I will, when I know that I need to get deeper with it, I will just sit down and write 10, 15, 20 variations.
Okay.
And just turn off your brain. Turn off the little negative Nelly. He's gonna pop up and be like, that's not very good. That's probably not gonna work. Just write. Just come up with a bunch of different ideas. And sometimes I'll go back, and the first one I wrote, I'm like, I like that one the best. And sometimes it's number 21. So that's another tactical tip, is just write a bunch of, just write.
Are there any specific tools that you would guide people to? Is there a favorite, you put in the words here and it's going to give you the percentage of this looks like a good title. This looks like a good hook. Are there any cool tools out there?
Literally is a tool. I don't use it super, super often, but maybe I should. See if I can find it. Because there's a couple tools just in general for writing that I would say. Well, a really useful one is Hemingway app.
Hemingway app. Okay.
Yeah. So if you just Google Hemingway app, because I always forget how to spell Hemingway, you will find that, and that basically just tells you hey, this sentence is too long. This is a word that could you might want to substitute out this word for something that's stronger. Here it is. Boom. Yeah. So there is a tool that I've used. It's called the Headline Analyzer.
The Headline Analyzer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's from the Advanced Marketing Institute. I don't really know who they are. I just know about their tool.
Okay.
But it's aminstitute.com.
Okay.
/ headline.
Okay.
And you put in your headline there, and it tells you there's a little explanation on the page and what they do, but it analyzes the percentage of words in your headline that are intellectual, empathetic, or spiritual.
Oh.
So you'll have to go and read what that means on the page, but it can help kind of guide when you think you've got something good and you're like, I've got a good concept and I want to refine this, you can put it in there, and it can help you kind of like massage things. It can give you a baseline of like, okay, this could be better.
Yeah.
It may not suggest alternatives, but you can.
Yeah, it could be better. What about any go-to tools that you use for keywords, right? So like right now, something like, so I sent out an email a couple of weeks ago and probably had the highest open, percentage rate probably ever. It was like a 60% open.
Whoa! How big is the list?
Yeah. And that is probably because right now what's top of mind is COVID, and right? Like, so I included keyword COVID right now. Like COVID is going to be a keyword, y'all. If you're doing events, if you're putting together any sort of like package or consult or something that's going to be addressing these fears and anxieties and concerns that people are feeling, you're just going to be more relevant than someone who's like, hey, let's just talk about like, I don't know, like
not
fun. Yeah, not COVID.
Not COVID.
So are there any keyword tools that you use that sort of let us know, like, I mean, ideally it would be like, let us know what's top of mind in terms of like our specific avatar, but top of mind, say, in the world.
So like, I don't personally use a ton of keyword analysis research, but I do know and have paid attention to like the Google search trends. Yeah. And you can Google search trends and like find that. But the point that you're kind of like hitting on is that you want to enter the conversation that's already happening in your process.
Yes. I want you guys to write that down. You want to enter the conversation that's already happening in your person's mind.
Yes. Obviously easier said than done, right? Because like that means knowing what conversation your prospect is already having. However, here's a fun hack. The same conversation is happening in millions of minds, especially right now. Especially right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is fundamentally worried about the same thing.
Yes.
In fact, what is the number one question in your mind about COVID? I bet you it's the same that's online.
Mine? Oh gosh.
I know. She's on the spot.
Yeah. What is my number? Like how contagious is it? Right? Like, or like, but we're not like death rates, like percentage of like, how deadly is it?
Yeah, fair enough. Like if we're talking about coronavirus and COVID, then we're like, okay, like is this bad? And most of the world is probably contemplating this question maybe a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Now the question that's on everyone's mind is like, when is the quarantine going to end?
When is it going to end? Yeah.
Nobody knows, and that's why everyone's freaking out. And so like that like there, I just told you what's on your prospect's mind because it's on everyone's mind at some level of like, okay, cool. For us online entrepreneurs, it's like, cool. When can I go back to the gym? When can I go out to eat again? Yeah. Like do something that's not inside the house.
We live the quarantine life anyway.
We live the quarantine life. And for everyone else, it's like, okay, when can I go back to work? When can my kids go back to school? That kind of thing. It's on everyone's mind. When. Yeah. So in general, and now, so the question that may be on our audience's mind right now is like, okay, cool. So that's the question on everyone's mind. So how does what I sell and the thing that I'm doing relate to that? Yes. Well, there is an intersection. I don't know what it is for someone's business without like knowing what the business is, but some of them are really obvious. Like for us in marketing and sales, it's kind of like, cool. So how do you continue selling? How do you keep going in the middle of COVID-19? Yeah. And a huge segment of the market has latched onto like recession-proof your business and crisis-proof your business and all this stuff, even though it's really going to be depression-proof your business because it's going to be worse than the recession. But it's kind of like that's like people have latched onto that. And that's actually for a lot of businesses where the credibility is already there. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But everyone has to have talked about it. Like most people have probably already said something. If you haven't said something about COVID to your audience, then like you're really behind the ball.
Yeah. And I really want to speak to that, guys, because I see your post and I see the way that you're engaging with your, with your customers, with your audience. Like, this is not the time to pretend that like COVID isn't happening. This is not the time to keep doing business as usual. This is not the time to just keep being like, come to my restaurant. Like, no, like, talk about how you're showing up as a leader for your customers, for like, right. Like, yes, engage in the conversation that's already happening. So like, for me, I was feeling the pressure. I was like, I need to send out an email that's a COVID email. Like, my people need to know that it's top of mind, that I'm thinking of them, that I'm putting together resources, trainings, right? Like, and as soon as I did, like, highest open rate that I've ever seen. Yeah. And, it continues to be, and so this is, again, like, as you're continuing to make yourself relevant, and this isn't just like COVID times. This is something like that can, make yourself relevant through your copy, through your offers, just generally as a business. Like, it's just a general good practice.
Yeah, totally. And also caveat, like, that doesn't mean that you have to say COVID all the time and talk about it all the time in your content. Yeah. You just need to like know where, you just need to like acknowledge it. It's kind of like at this point, if you haven't talked about it yet, I mean, again, like, say something with compassion and empathy. But it's kind of like, we needed to like address like this giant elephant in the room. And now it's not really an elephant. Correct. It's the room. Like, there's not an elephant in the room. COVID is the room and we are now living in it. Yeah. And it's like acknowledging the reality. And it's just a different kind of perspective on how you talk about it. Yeah.
I know that we're nearing the hour, and I also know we started a little bit late because hashtag technology and Zoom problems, Zoom being overloaded. Are you okay with going about 10 minutes over?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. You talked about the 3 writing mistakes that people are making right now that are killing your conversion rates. Let's talk about those. That seems really relevant.
Okay. Let me pull up my notes on that. Okay, so we actually covered some of this already. Okay. Because the number one thing is like talking about the problem from your perspective, and not from their perspective. So like that's probably the number one thing that's like killing your conversion rates, is just literally just not even being on the same page.
You're just not on the same page as your people.
Yeah, that's a big one. And these are not necessarily in any ranked order at the moment. Another really big conversion rate killer, hilariously, is the lack of asking for action. Like especially for people in this audience who are like marketing on Facebook and sending emails. It's like, oh man, I don't have any leads. Cool. When's the last time you asked? Yeah. I do this all the time. Everyone does this all the time. It takes practice to get into the habit of consistently asking. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts as to, is there, I've heard different thoughts in terms of the ratio. So like the ratio should be something like, 3/4 content, valuable content. And like, so for every offer, for every like ask, you should be providing content, like 4 content posts and then 1 ask, or like 3 content posts and 1 ask, or was it like, do you have any thoughts as to what's the ratio of, providing value, providing content to then just like making offers, so you don't have offer fatigue?
Yeah. So the real answer to how often you should ask your audience for action depends on how often you have trained your audience that you will ask for action. Because there are some people who send out a sales email every single day. Yeah. And there are some people who do like a webinar once a month. Yeah. So it's like there's no real answer. It just what does matter is how you've conducted the relationship. And is it going to feel like all of a sudden, where you were just doing content, all of a sudden every single email, every single post is a pitch?
Psych. It wasn't content. Now we're just doing offers. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, that's okay, cool. We're doing offers now. Great. But just have an awareness, if it doesn't work, that are you making offers every single day because that's in the best interest of your audience? Or are you doing that because all of a sudden you don't have any leads and now you're in scarcity? Because again, as we kind of mentioned, that'll come through.
Yeah. So the question for you guys to ask is, what is in the best interest of my audience? And having your content strategy be that.
Yeah. And so like the Gary V kind of like jab,
hook.
Yeah. Jab, hook.
A lot of jabs. Jab,
jab, hook. Like, I think that people latch onto that because it's a useful framework, and there's nothing wrong with it. So if it's comfortable and you want to do that, and it'll keep you on track.
Yeah. Sounds good. And then 3.
Number 3 on what is killing your conversion rates.
So right from their perspective, not yours, the lack of asking for action, and.
Yeah. And number 3 is actually could probably be number 1. It's the most common thing that I run into when reviewing anybody's copy, which is that I'll review an ad or a sales page and be like, I don't know who this is for. And it's just literally just a lack of clarity or an indecision on who your avatar is and who you're actually writing to.
And we're not going to jump into this, guys, because I've talked about this ad nauseum here, like talking about how if you are not niching down, you are micro niching by just like the fact that you're so confusing by not picking who you're serving, who you're going after, who your people are. You're making it so open that basically only the people who like you, who already know you, like who are not confused by your offering, like are gonna like to work with you. So if you want to make that better, if you want to make more sales, got a niche. Doesn't mean that like that's where you stay forever, but if you want to start and we want to build momentum, you gotta pick an audience. Yeah.
And with the niching, you can have an invisible niche. Everybody does. Everybody has an invisible niche.
Invisible niche. What's an invisible niche?
An invisible niche is just the people who are just like, we'll get on a call and you'll be like, cool, so why me? And they're just like, man, I don't know. There's just something about you. There's just, call it the vibe. Like, I just like really was really attracted to you. Like that'll happen to me. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I just liked your vibe. That's your invisible niche, where it's like people who are like just attracted to your personality.
Yeah.
And like and there's like, I feel connected to you and I can't really articulate why, but I feel connected to you.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we think about like, okay, niche. Okay, chiropractors. Chiropractors is my niche, or dentists, right? Like, that's not always how to niche. So oftentimes there is an industry component, and what you'll find is if you're serving a lot of people and you connect the dots looking back, you're like, okay, like most of my clients were coaches. Most of them were coaches or consultants, and a smattering of service providers. I'm going to write to the coach.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that like we're talking about copyright here, right? So like it just makes it easier. It makes it easier for people to read your stuff and go like, oh, that's me. Like you're helping me. But if you just make it super open, they're like, oh, I don't know if you're for me. Like there's somebody out there who we both know, Emily, and she is like she's a business coach for yoga studio owners, right? Yep. It's so specific, and she's doing great. Business is doing great because it makes it easy, because yoga studio owners, they can go like, I could work with like the generic person over there who's just a business coach, or I could work with this person who specifically works with people like me. So I'm going to trust her because she knows me. Yeah. And so it just makes your life easier.
And even there, like she's got an invisible niche within the niche. Correct. Correct. She's not the only one in there. And people are like, I'm going to work with Emily because I feel that connection versus Ryan, who I don't.
Yes. Correct. So we talked about your customers' emotions. Anything else that you wanted to say about customers' emotions in your copy?
Yes. You may have heard copywriters or marketers say, make sure that you use your audience's words in your copy. This is only half the truth. Yeah. Because you can still go wrong using their words if you don't understand what the emotion is underneath it. So what you actually want to do is understand to a deeper level that when they tell you something, what they're actually saying. Because they could be saying, like, if they're saying, I don't have enough leads, they could be saying like, the series of emails that I sent didn't work and I'm trying to figure out why. Or they could be saying, I am completely overwhelmed with everything there is to do with online marketing and I don't even know where to start. In fact, I haven't done anything. totally different emotions. So like asking the follow-up questions when you're able to, and like getting into Messenger and like having conversations, that's where your best marketing research comes from.
Talk to your people, talk to them. Okay, so we're getting to that place where we're wrapping up. If people had wanted to learn more about your PACE method, you have a little gift for our people, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us a little bit more about it.
So the PACE, like I wrote out the whole thing.
The whole thing, guys.
The whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. The whole kit and caboodle. I don't know, it's like 17 pages or something where I walk you through like in depth all the pieces. PDF guide, and you can get that. Probably the easiest way is to join the Facebook group. Conversion Copywriting and Messaging for High Performing Entrepreneurs. Drop your email in with the questions, and it'll get fired across the internet straight to your inbox, customized to you.
Perfect. So if you guys are interested in that, if you want access to it, if you just want to write sales copy, if you write sales copy, I'll make sure that I send you the link for you guys to have access to that. And then anything else that, we have 2 last minutes. Anything else that you would want to share? Anything about Facebook? You talked about connection to copywriting, to only ever work with your ideal clients. Like, what are your parting thoughts for these coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs? What's the last bit that you're like, you need to be doing this in your copy?
Ironically, the best way to become there's a couple thoughts. The best way to become a better copywriter is to become a better messenger. As like focusing on your stuff up here. And the best thing that I ever did to become a better copywriter, there's 2 things. One, I read all the books, I took all the courses, but the thing that like took me from okay to like really, really good was getting mentorship and accountability and feedback from another copywriter.
Amen. Can we get an amen for mentorship and accountability and support? We all need mentors. Like anyone that you work with, like they probably have mentors, and y'all need mentors. You need mentors in anything. Y'all need mentors. Y'all need mentors in anything that's important to you. If you want a result, get yourself a mentor. Yeah.
So that was the number one thing that I did was like getting into a place where somebody was looking at my copy and being like, yeah, tweak this, change that. You need more of this. That was huge. The second thing was what I kind of already shared in passing was like doing the inner work and getting into an execution mindset every single day, because the copy
execution mindset every day, all day, every day, guys.
Not like that is easier said than done. It takes practice. But the rewards are so worth it. So those are my thoughts. And you can always come over to my group and drop some copy in there, and I can do some limited review there and get you pointed in the right direction. And of course, there's always a conversation for deeper support.
Great. That's super generous. In terms of books and resources, do you have any like things that you just like loved? Like you talked about, courses, you talked about books. I'm a huge book nerd. Like, what are your like go-to these are the Bibles of what you must read, you must know. Like, what do people have to get their hands on?
So my favorite copywriting book is there's Breakthrough Advertising, which is kind of like
it's
that
like
is the Bible.
It's
that
the
is the
Bible
of
correct,
copywriting.
Correct. You guys can find it for like $150. It's like it's not like you can't just like find it.
No, not anymore. So that's like a great one. One of my personal favorites is How to Write a Good Advertisement by Vic Schwab. He was the copywriter. A good advertisement.
Okay.
Victor Schwab. He was the copywriter who wrote the ad campaign that made How to Win Friends and Influence People a bestseller back in like the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
From Dale Carnegie. And then another one that's like lesser known.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure is available. It's called The Advertising Solution.
I think I've heard of that. Okay.
And that one was like, that's a recent book, and it's kind of a compilation of like some older material.
Yeah. Old stuff is so good.
Yeah.
If you just like pull the principles, yeah.
Old stuff is better, honestly.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Cameron. It was such a pleasure to have you on. We learned so much. People are like writing how excited they are. Super, super grateful to have you here and to share your 4-step methodology, all of your tools and resources, and just like, thank you. This, guys, especially as we've talked about, it has never been more important for you to get your messaging on the internet, for you to share your gifts and your work with the world. And copy is a really, really important piece of that. And so can we all say thank you to Cameron for sharing his best practices with us? Really, really appreciate it. Hand signs. And thank you again, Cameron. And, I'll be sharing the link with you guys. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I will catch you again next Tuesday for our live where I look at your branding. And that happens to be Tuesday here at 12.
Well, good timing. Sounds like she was going to say it's going to happen at 12.
You can still hear me? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you totally froze. Great timing.
Totally froze. Make sure to sign up for my newsletter. I am sending COVID-specific resources in my newsletter. So if you guys don't have access to my newsletter, write newsletter in the comments so I can make sure that you guys get signed up there. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. Keep showing up. Your people need you. This is your time. And I will see you guys again very soon. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And I end broadcast. There we go. It's a new system.